The year 2102. Alarms blare from White Springs bunker, and a countdown begins.
Attention citizens, nuclear strike imminent. Please exit the area at your earliest convenience. Thank you for your cooperation.
You weren't one of the lucky few, and you didn't make it into a vault. You raced through the crowded streets of your shaddily rebuilt town, your child's hand tightly gripping your own as you desperately seek shelter. It's so loud, deafening even. Panic shrieks fill the air around you as a blinding light erupts over the horizon. Just then, the world seems to be put on pause. An enormous shadow flies over your heads, and you swear you could feel the beating of titanic wings as a cloud forms in the sky. Then silence. Nothing. The world is quiet until you hear her whispers creeping into your mind. Welcome back to the channel, Wanderers. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive look at the Scorched Plague and why, in my own opinion, and based on the research that I've been able to gather, I consider it to be a fate worse than death. And I think the residents of Appalachia, pre-release of the Vault Dwellers of 76 and their subsequent inoculation, would agree with that assessment. So be sure to slap that like button and sub if you enjoy the video. It really helps the channel. With that being said, grab your guns, charge up the infusion cores, and come with me to the wasteland while we discuss. The Scorched Plague is a mutagenic infection that decimated Appalachia. Mercifully, however, those sheltered inside the vaults were spared this agonizing fate. Through the actions of the Vault Dwellers from 76 and the year 2103, the plague has been all but eradicated in humanity. Unfortunately, though, this only applies to the lucky souls that managed to avoid infection in the first place, as there is no known cure outside of a bullet to the head of any afflicted human suffering from the Scorched Plague. A preventative inoculation was discovered in 2103 and has been distributed across Appalachia that's drastically helped to stop the spread of infection. The Scorched Plague begins with a scorched beast. This is a collection of ordinary, unassuming bats, captured and unrecognizably transformed through biochemical and experimentation of the Appalachian Enclave. This mysterious experimentation took place deep below the Cranberry Bog in the year 2083. Naturally, containment of these grotesque specimens was already proving difficult. However, with this being the case, no one within the Enclave was prepared when Thomas Eckert, the Secretary of Agriculture, recklessly ordered all the scorched beasts to be set loose on an unsuspecting Appalachia. In the early stages of these secretive experiments, it was noted that the aforementioned bats possessed an extremely impressive ability to attract other animals. Ultimately, however, they were deemed a failure, possibly sentenced to destruction. This could be the reason Eckhart hadn't been released. However, that remains to be seen and is only conspiracy. When the bats accidentally became exposed to both the biochemical agents as well as radiation, the Scorched Beast was truly born, and Appalachia's nightmare had begun. These abominations secrete a natural particulate from their wings. Once set loose in Appalachia, this spore was spread all over the region. Regardless if it were human, animal, or mutant, the Scorched Plague was able to infect nearly every living thing that it touched. The plague starts with a series of intense and extremely painful changes within the victim. The first change will be a darkening of the victim's skin, followed by a smell of ash emanating from the skin. Horrible lesions will then take over the skin, resembling third-degree smoldering burns. After some time, the victim's skin will break open, showing what remaining tissues and ligaments they have left, as well as a new substance, a green ultracite crystalline substance. It's important to note at this point in the infection, it's fully taking control of the victim. Coupled with these symptoms, there'll be mental changes in the victim, most notably mental degradation and complete assimilation into the hive mind that is the Scorched Beast. This makes the afflicted much more aggressive to any life form that has not already been infected with the Scorched Plague. It is important to note that in the case of human assimilation, it is not 100%, and many humans are aware of the condition but unable to resist, like a passenger on a car ride, can see where they're going but helpless to stop it. Scorched humans retain their ability to wield weapons and firearms. This makes fighting them extremely challenging and the risk of transmission dangerously high. Sightings of scorched beasts were often regarded as hallucination or unreliable rumors. This continued until a point when all known factions in Appalachia would need to assess the severity of this near unstoppable plague. Each faction gathered research and made effort to combat the infection. They devised plans for containment, prevention, and even an elusive cure. However, it would not take long before mistrust quickly set in. Some dismissed the plague. Others grossly underestimated its lethality and contagion. Efforts weren't seriously considered to stop the plague before it was far too late. The raiders of Appalachia, as well as the Free States, the responders, and even the mighty Brotherhood of Steel, all fell one by one to the scorched plague as it ravaged the land, and all of Appalachia fell silent. Few lucky souls were able to flee the area before every human was either dead or scorched by the year 2103, of course excluding the Vault Dwellers of 76. The Scorched has not known to be spread outside of Appalachia. In fact, Skyline Valley has experienced almost no cases of scorched plague. The only known case was a man who took a trip to Watoga and was put down mercifully before he could succumb to his infection. A possible reason for this reluctance to leave Appalachia is because scorched beasts nest underground under ultraslight veins. Appalachia is the only known location to our current knowledge to have successfully tested nuclear mining devices, as well as be home to a plethora of naturally occurring underground caverns. This combination makes Appalachia the perfect home for these winged terrors. Coming into contact with a scorched beast spore, the mutated fungus that is carried on the creature's wings, and other scorched creatures undoubtedly will seal your fate in becoming part of the scorched hive mind. The skin goes through a rapid change of charred black to blood red lesions, almost as if you had been flayed alive. Following this, you'll experience a complete loss of teeth and hair. Your eyes will gain cataracts, and green ultraslight crystals will begin to randomly protrude from beneath what is left of your skin. If somehow the scorch isn't acting aggressively or directly being controlled, they'll enter what is known as the wandering state. This simply means that the scorched will wander until they are controlled by a scorched beast or scorched beast queen that they come in contact with. If, however, they run into a non-infected living being, they will act aggressively. If none of these conditions are met, they will wander until they enter what is known as the petrification state, and this is the end of their violent life cycle. Scorched as the victim will stand stuck in place, petrifying from the inside out, until they become a pile of radioactive ash. This means mercifully, all scorched have a set lifespan until they eventually succumb to their radioactive disease. It is important to note that the petrification process can take longer for some scorched humans based off the activity level in the area, and they can revert to their normal aggressive state if not already completely petrified and come into contact with a non-infected being. Strangely enough, this petrification process that marks the end of the disease life cycle is only seen in humans, and despite extensive research, the reason for this is unknown. Humanity fought valiantly against the raging infection. Based at Morganton Airport, the responders received news of the scorched plague threat from the Brotherhood of Steel. They amassed an assortment of countermeasures against the plague. Soon after the formations of the fire breathers, as well as the discovery of the depleted ultrasonic munitions, the responders somehow found that fate had briefly turned in their favor. As if by miracle, they were able to keep the plague at bay. Now, it's imperative that we credit the research efforts of one Dr. Claire Hudson of the responders, who without her vital work of vaccine never could have been created, and inoculation of the Appalachian residents would not have been possible. Dr. Claire Hudson was in early stages of developing a cure to the fever. Unfortunately, due to the ever increasing amount of danger, her project had to be put on hold. The Free States, operating in the mire, suffered catastrophic losses at Harper's Ferry to the Scorched beast in the earliest stages of the plague in 2086. Fortunately, either by luck or by strategy, the mire location had led to a tactical advantage for the Free States, as the environment of the mire and a decentralized nature of the Free States allowed them to create anti-scorched technology, such as the Scorched detection system, otherwise known as the SDS, aka Operation Cooldown. Operation Cooldown was composed of several surveillance and security interlinked systems. The physical components of these were comprised of several sensors that were triggered by motion. Once triggered, Geiger counters would verify that the radiation level of the target did indeed match the levels that they were accustomed to dealing with the Scorched. Once done, information would be pinged to the nearest relay towers. Each tower in the region was programmed to access this information, and once it passed through the towers, it would be sent to Abby Singh's computer, and on her computer, it would be sent to Pip-Boys used by Free State civilians. The Free States are also credited with developing the Scorched Beast lure, an ingenious device that uses a sonic generator to scramble the echolocation of the creature, thereby disorienting them, forcing the creature to land in a predetermined kill zone. These devices continue to run and will do so until their batteries eventually die out. The fire breathers, on the other hand, discovered that the ultracite deposits in the mountains of Appalachia turned volatile when introduced into the presence of depleted ultracite. Armed with this knowledge, they and the Brotherhood of Steel created specialized weapon receivers and laser guns to more effectively eliminate the Scorch. Unfortunately, due to infighting among the factions and the Brotherhood of Steel unwilling to use nuclear weapons left over from the war, humanity ultimately failed in their mission to save Appalachia. In the year 2102, Vault 76 opened, and the Dweller followed the footsteps of the Overseer. They traveled across the region devoid of life, outside of the Scorched. They pieced together the puzzle, finishing Dr. Blair Hudson's crucial work. After finalizing the vaccine and inoculating themselves and the returning settlers against the Scorched, they utilized the region's ICBM missile silos to launch a nuclear strike at Fisher Site Prime. This summoned the Queen, whose voice has controlled an entire region for far too long. Fortunately, the Dwellers banded together and managed to eliminate the Scorched Beast Queen. With this, as well as the inoculation of the returning settlers of Appalachia, the Scorched influence on the region is finally dwindling to a manageable degree. With that out of the way, of course, the Scorched are still present in Appalachia, and I'd like to take another opportunity to talk to you guys about some of the variants of Scorched we can see. There are three categories that can be infected here. We have mammals, which include dogs, humans, mega-sloths, Scorched beasts themselves, and the mighty and ferocious yaguai. We have amphibians and reptiles, which include anglers, deathclaws, gulpers, radtoads. We have arthropods, ants, blowflies, blood bugs, bugs of any kind of nature. We have the mirelurks, this includes the kings and queens, mothman of any variety, rad scorpions, as well as smalligasters. I don't know about you guys, but a scorched mothman or deathclaw or yaguai does not sound like a fun time. One last important note, I think it's important to mention that ghouls are incapable of being infected with the scorched plague. I think that's really interesting that they have a natural immunity, since they're, I guess, immune to everything out in the wasteland. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. I have a ton more Fallout lore videos for you guys. Got a lot of plans. If you guys would like to enter in for a chance to win a bundle of 2,400 atoms, slight disclaimer, you guys do need to be in the United States so that I don't have to deal with any regional blocks. But if you would like to have a chance to win that, all you have to do is leave a like and a comment on the video. You guys let me know what kind of Fallout lore content you would like to see next, what kind of stories you want me to cover. And I really appreciate you guys watching. I will catch you guys next time.